Hello, I am Aviva reporting for Jerusalem News Live. Today is Sunday, the 21st of December 2008, or on the Jewish lunar calendar, it is now here in Jerusalem, in fact, the first night of Hanukkah, and we Jews here have lit the first Hanukkah candle in our own homes. As I was contemplating what Hanukkah gift I could give to my audience, I decided that one of the most important gifts I could offer is truth to the Jewish woman. So this very first segment is my Hanukkah gift to those unsuspecting Jewish women who may be going onto the Jewish dating scene for the first time in a long time, or the first time at all. Trust me, there is a lot that you need to know. Why, you might ask, is there so much to learn about dating your fellow Jew? After all, you say, if a man is Jewish and dating, surely he is honest and is looking toward marriage. Pardon me, ladies, I have been single in Jerusalem for 5 years. The statistics show that there are many Jewish men looking for the S word, as compared, of course, to the number of Jewish men who are actually using an Edate service looking for the M word. At the end of the day, even our own rabbis here have failed to publicly discuss the pitfalls of dating a Jewish man who is divorced and who already has children. So if you have visited a shadchan or signed up for one of those Jewish Edate services, then you would do well to take serious note of the following suggestions. It pains me to say some of these are questions I recently learned to ask after being with the same man for 5 years, only to have my local rabbi tell me that a woman is a thing that can be discarded if she does not have a Jewish wedding contract. And that same rabbi ended our discussion by telling me that he did not interfere in the private lives of the men who were counted as the 10th man in his minyan. And some of these questions are based upon my surfing since my breakup. Be forewarned, dear listener, the rules for the Jewish man on the dating scene are far different than the rules for the Jewish woman on the dating scene, and those rules typically favor the man. In light of this ancient, yes, I did say ancient dilemma, I would like to give you a few ideas for valid questions to ask any Jewish man before you ever meet in person. Question 1. Your profile says you are divorced. How long have you been divorced? Point of information, dear listener. There are very few men who remarry after the first few years of being divorced. After all, to the Jewish man, it is a mitzvah to marry once. It is a mitzvah to have children, and believe me, if he thinks he has fulfilled those 2 mitzvahs, odds are, if you are looking for a lifetime mate, and the online guy has been divorced for more than 18 months or so, do not give him the time of day. Keep looking. Question 2. Your profile says that you are divorced. How many times have you been married? Did you ever marry a non-Jew? Did you give her a divorce? If the man is evasive, or if he admits to being married to a Gentile still, keep walking and don't look back. Yes, dear listener, there are Jewish men on the Edate scene who are still legally married to Gentile women who think that they do not need to give those Gentiles a divorce. Question 3. You say you still have a good relationship with your ex. How often do you see your ex? Are you ever alone with your ex? Does your ex have a driver's license, or do you still act as her chauffeur? Does your ex come to your house? Do you still go to her house? And if so, how often? Is your family name still on the front door where your ex lives? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, take it from all of those women tossed overboard by that kind of man, dear listener. Avoid them like the plague. Question 4. In your relationship with your children, do you ever accept an invitation to go to their home or parties with your ex? Do you clarify that your acceptance of their invitation is independent of any association with your ex? If the answer to the first question here is yes, and the answer to the second question here is no, then please take my advice. and walk away from that connection. Do not look back. Question 5. You say you have been divorced for a few years already. How many times have you asked someone to marry you since your divorce? If the man has been divorced for more than 18 months or so and has not asked a single woman with whom he has slept to marry him, do the wise thing and keep browsing. Why, you ask? Any man who is divorced with children who has not remarried in the first 18 months of his divorce has already become accustomed to casual sex, and he will keep looking for casual, non-committal sex. Not to mention that in 18 months' time he has become addicted to the click. You know the click of his mouse as he sits there reading Edate profiles while you cook dinner for the two of you a few nights a week. The click is a difficult addiction to break, even if he decides he loves you a bit. The click will probably win, and the older the edater, the more likely it is that the click will win, especially if he already has children. Question 6. If his profile says that he is an executive from the very beginning, ask for the name of the firm. If you are looking for a man who thinks he can actually afford to get married a second time, then do a search of a few trade journals. If neither he nor his firm are listed, then odds are that his income, which by the way his profile says he will tell you later, is not that of an executive as you define executive. It is highly likely that his executive status is better defined as owner of a small business. I hope the word beware is enough in terms of how an Edate connection like this one should be handled. In other words, pick up a 10-foot pole. No, do not hit him with that pole. Just put it between the two of you and keep backing up as quickly as possible. Question 7. How long has your profile been on an Edate site? When did you first join? How many women have you slept with since you first joined? If the answer to the first question of this set is lower than the answer to the second question in this set by more than a factor of 4, then perhaps you might gain a life mate if you dated the man. However, do the math, ladies. If the answer to the second question is greater than the answer to the first question by more than a factor of 2, unless you are just looking for someone to warm your bed like all of those before you, close that instant message window and keep surfing. Question 8. Of all of the women you have dated, how many did your children meet? And how many relationships did your children veto? If the answer to the first question is 0 or a single digit, when the man has double or triple digit status in the liaison realm, look into the webcam and give him a single digit, if you know what I mean. And if the answer to the second question here, when used as a multiple, would yield anything other than 0 in the equation, do the math, ladies, and look into that webcam and give that man the big goose egg salute. You will never regret not becoming one of the relationships he lets his children veto. And in case you are scratching your head and saying, now, Aviva, if a man is really in love with a woman, he won't give a D word what his children think. To that I can say, in the Jewish world, nothing is further from the truth. Point of information: if Jewish men do not let their children veto a good relationship, then why do shadchanim advertise, and I quote, complete discretion, your children will never know, end quote. Oh yes, ladies, that ad is out there, and that ad bears significant testimony to the dinosaurs I call matchmakers, which in fact many matchmakers are nothing more than a glorified escort service of sorts, often serving those Jewish men who like diversity in their beds without hanging their sheets on the C word. Well, I am out of time. I hope that this Hanukkah gift to all of you women seeking an elevated relationship with one and only one Jewish man will help each of you to avoid the pitfalls that some of us who entered the dating world after 2 decades of previous marriage fell into without knowing actually what lay at the bottom of this abominable, ungodly, confused Jewish abyss called e-dating. Please look back tomorrow for my second Hanukkah gift with more questions that are pertinent to the unsuspecting Jewish woman seeking to rebuild her life under one roof with one man in a newly established Jewish home. I am Aviva Lee, reporting for Jerusalem News Live. Thank you, Shalom, and Happy Hanukkah. May the Almighty help this present inhabited world.